All right, hey everybody, welcome to episode 24 of the Stop and Give Me 20 podcast, 20 minutes with some of the world's top fitness professionals. I'm your host, Anthony Randy. You can check out the show notes at stop20podcast.com. That's stop20podcast.com. Before you do that, make sure you go to iTunes. I keep saying it. I'm not getting enough ratings and reviews, man. Come on, let's do this. Please go to iTunes, leave me a rating and a review. It helps us out, helps us get the word out. All right, for today's episode, I have on Anna Tocco, and Anna is a coach at Inner City Weightlifting in Boston. She has her master's in education from Boston University. She's a former super trainer, getting a lot of those on lately, from Mike Boyle Strength and Conditioning, where she was also head of nutrition education. By the way, if you don't know anything about Inner City Weightlifting, you need to Google that. It's an amazing concept and place, and it's even better now that Anna's there. I got to know her during the RKC and the SFG kettlebell certifications. We had a great time. I crushed her 5-minute snatch times both times. She's seriously one of my favorite people in the world, not just the business. Thanks for coming on today.
Thanks, Dad. Oh, my God. Yeah, man.
All right, this has got to be the best one ever because you were like the first one. We were in a bar in New York City, and before anybody even knew about this podcast, we were going over the questions. I was really working them through, so here we go. You ready?
Yeah, I think so.
All right, Tocco. What's your story? What's that? What's that spark for your early fitness lifestyle?
Well, okay. So first of all, I'm one of 4 girls in my family. So growing up, I was always considered the sporty one out of them all. My parents had always had us try everything. I did gymnastics, ballet, t-ball, tennis, basketball, soccer, swimming, softball, piano. Like, we did everything. And I think for me at a young age, a lot of my friends played sports, and I liked being a part of a team, and I ended up creating an identity with it. And going way back, like when we were little guys, we must have been like 3 or 4. But my family had workout time. So we'd go down the basement. My dad had a balance beam for us, a bike, some light dumbbells, a Nordic track. And we'd go downstairs and work out. And we'd wear our favorite leotard. My mom would have some like Richard Simmons or Jane Fonda video on, or just like turn up the Paula Abdul, right? Nice. And we just like entertain ourselves for an hour. But then as I got older, sports kept coming and playing a very big role in my life. And at the age of 12, I got a workout bench with a leg curl and a curl bar for Christmas. And being my dad's boy, I would bench and do leg curls and leg extensions. And so then coming from that household, you have to find your own identity, right? So my oldest sister was a gymnast. My second sister tended to be a little bit more challenged by academia than sports. And then my youngest sister was the dancer and volleyball player. And then in high school, my dad totally took advantage of and would show me all these like Rocky workouts. And, he took every opportunity to show me different ways to train. And I idolized my father, so I'd pretty much do anything he said. In high school, my mom would go to the gym early, and I would go out with her at like 5:30 before school. And looking back, I'm like, I don't even know how she did that all. Like 4 girls before school, she would line up. We had 4 half grapefruits in a line on the counter, and then behind that was the shredded wheat or oatmeal, and then behind that was our lunches. It was like unbelievable.
Wow.
But I think I would have to give my fitness lifestyle points to mom and pops for making my sisters and me try everything and see what stuck.
Yeah, I think that's a first here. That a lot of times, and we have a lot of guys on the men on the show, but we have a lot of women. But I'm not sure if I've heard that kind of full-on family fitness kind of lifestyle. That is awesome. Great job by your parents there.
I mean, It was crazy. Yeah, we like had whether it was weekends in New Hampshire, like we were there water skiing or playing. Like we were always going. Yeah.
Very cool. I think you kind of led on to it, but you never know. Who's that superhero growing up? Who really influenced you the most to become who you are?
Well, I think growing up, I was also surrounded and supported by like my aunts and uncles. My dad has 4 sisters and brothers, and who are all like second parents to me. And they'd come to my games, or we'd go to my cousins' games, and we were all in the, exactly what an Italian family is like. And then within that, I have 14 first cousins, and I had sporty cousins and not so sporty cousins. But everyone kind of had their own thing, and I think that it made it normal for me to be able to feel like I could run to soccer practice and then go to basketball, and because I had so many other older cousins that I could look up to that were doing that. So, when I was in middle school, I'd go to my cousins that were in high school, their games, because they were like so much bigger. And then when I was in high school, I'd go to the collegiate games, and it was just like the thing you did. Like everyone support, and they'd come to my games. So I think just having that community definitely helped me, and they were my superheroes.
That's great. I love it. I love that group collective of superheroes. Nice.
Oh my God. The Tocco clan. Yeah.
There you go. What about now? I know, obviously we're good friends, so I know some of the direction you're trying to go in your life, but who are those people that you kind of look up to that are doing some great things that you kind of really want to emulate?
Yeah, that's such a loaded question, because I feel like my superhero is a collection of people. And because now of where I am and all of my world, I feel like are colliding, and I'm educating, I'm learning, I'm failing, I'm succeeding. Like no day is like the one before, but I love it. And it's just that I can say that I am definitely inspired by the smallest of things now. And, between my students understanding a new concept and then growing outside of their comfort zone, to the appreciation I have for like the system and simplicity that Mike has created in his mentorships. And then even like in the last couple of years, like being at BU, my professors just were amazing human beings and like helped me mold me into this like open-hearted and open-minded individual. It was like, it's definitely a collection. And even with like my coworkers and colleagues that just never get comfortable, everyone that's over at Boyles or even at Q Fitness, like everyone is like Skill of Strength, Mike Perry, like everyone is just continuing to educate and share their experiences with everyone. And that's what's really cool. And, there's just like a whole sorts of things, because I feel like I'm so grateful and thankful for Mike, and all of like these inspirations just tend to keep on piggybacking onto each other. And that's what I think is so unique about my experience right now is, that I keep on getting to tie all of my superheroes into one and kind of use bits and pieces of everyone.
There's so many great people out there doing great things, and collectively, it's good to be inspired. You are who the 30 people you surround yourself with. So
absolutely, and it's so cool because what we have going on here in Boston is not only we work with some amazing people, but we're also really good friends. And Mike, Boyle always says, like, you never know who you know now until 10 or 20 years down the road. And between all of those coaches in the Boston area and now my ICW family now, it's the network around us is so inspiring, because everyone just is doing their thing, but they're sharing their knowledge and experience. And it's so cool. But I think my superhero at this moment in time would definitely be my students that are just seeking change, and they're hungry for new beginnings and willing to make that like extra phone call to get to the gym, or to set that alarm clock extra early, or make sure they have a charger so then their phone is charged, and or just even simply asking for help. Like I feel like we take those things for granted, and like having the vulnerability that they have to do those things is like so heroic to me.
Love it. So, if people don't know, you at Inner City Weightlifting, you're working with some individuals who have had maybe some troubles in the past. Okay, let's put it that way. Mm-hmm. And you've had personal training clients and teams and all these people, and you have a huge family and your inner city family. Who are you trying to be a superhero to now with what you're trying to do?
I think that I think the direct answer would be like the students that I'm working with right now, to just instill in them like the energy, enthusiasm that I have for weightlifting, that hopefully they can find, something that they're passionate about and then have that energy towards it. Thinking overall, It has to be my parents and my family. And then recently I read the book Tribe, and it really supports the notion of that, like, we all want to be a part of something that's bigger than ourselves, and that we do need that community feel. And I just love being a part of that too.
Well, tell us a little bit about that then, about Tribe, and if that's because that's always sometimes a question that I ask. So you just read Tribe. Give us an idea about what they're talking about in there.
Yeah, so it just it pretty much just talks about like how modern society now is just pulling us away from our tribal roots, and it kind of go. It's such a cool book. It's called it's by Sebastian Junger, and it describes the dynamics that lead to like modern unhappiness, and all the things that go into that, whether it's like the extrinsic values that motivate you to do something versus your intrinsic values, and what kind of actually allows you to focus on doing something more mental health based versus just kind of that intrinsic feeling like, oh well, so and so said I should do it. But just even like the social bonds that are reinforced through those. And it's just such a cool book about community and how we really crave it, and just even like the male and female roles, and how, the different roles that people take in your life and in their own lives, and how you can create community around that.
What's interesting there then is also because you see a lot of that, people talk about that on, I think Seth Godin even wrote a book, I forget the name of it right now, about with the word tribe in it, and like, I forget the name of it, but it was with Tribe, and he was talking about more of like your following and online, but it's kind of funny because that's what's really probably what's going on, what's wrong with what's going on. We don't have enough personal connection to our tribe. Right. Did he go over that a little bit in the book?
Yeah, definitely. And it's just more of, they went into like what it was like in Indian culture and whatnot, but even just for say like a disaster where like social bonds are reinforced through those disasters. And, when things happen like that, people devote energy toward the good of the community rather than just themselves. And when we're not facing this disaster or whatnot, we kind of live in our own little world and do our own little things to move our piece forward, and not kind of keep that open-minded and open-hearted view. So it's all perspective, really. It really just opens your eyes to like working with a community versus just like in your own world on your own path.
Interesting. Good stuff. You've worked in a big box gym. You've worked in Boyles. You were a GA at BU during your graduate assistant during getting your master's. You've kind of worked in a lot. Now you're at Inner City Weightlifting. Where do you see, I mean, we just talked about kind of, there are so many good people in our industry, but what are some other things that you feel, fitness, wellness, healthcare industry is kind of doing right now?
Let's see. Well, I do think that the biggest thing out of everything is just creating awareness around it. And I think that it's so important that there's something for everyone. And the main theme needs to be just to move, right? So like from here, everyone has a different opinion of what that means. But as long as we just keep moving, and, we always talk about finding your why, and like it doesn't matter what makes you move, because everyone's going to have their own why, but it just matters about finding that and being able to go forward and move. So I would say creating awareness.
Love it. All right, comrade, now it's time for the stop, and give me 5 seconds. Ready to go?
I'm ready. I think I'm ready.
All right. You've done so many different like fitness, Spartan race type races and half marathons. You rode in college. You just talked about your family. What was your kind of best fitness experience ever?
Okay, with this question, I feel like the first thing that comes to my mind was when my late grandmother, we brought her up to New Hampshire, and my aunt just wanted to have her have this beautiful spa day. So they get her in the tub. She's like enjoying herself, and no one ever really thought about how we were going to get her out of the tub. And she's, at this time she's like 200 plus pounds. And so I felt honored that I had to go in there and pick her out of the tub, water and all in it. And since then, I think my father has never questioned why I lift so much weight. But I think that was like overall best experience of like finding my why. Like I could be the person that goes in there to help her out of the tub.
That's very cool. Very cool to experience to like, understand how fitness transfers into the real world. Cool. I love it.
Right? Oh my God.
You talked about your family. I've seen some of the pictures of all the crazy stuff you guys do up in New Hampshire. What's kind of like, I know you got like a lot of funky stuff going on up there. What's your kind of coolest, best family get-together event that you guys do?
Okay. Well, that has to be the 4th of July. So every year we have the Tocco Hunger Games. And we call it the Tocco compound, but it's all my cousins up there and then their spouses and kids and whatnot. And so this year I was one of the game makers with my cousin, and we created a decathlon. So we had like these 10 things that they had to do. We had like flip cup with water, egg on a spoon, water balloon toss, a 3-legged race, an obstacle course, and then we had a ski boot run where it's the summer, right? You have to put on ski boots, goggles, hat, mittens, and ski poles and run across the field, undress, and then give it to your partner, and they have to run. It's a relay essentially, but we had the games, and it gets so competitive. Like I totally understand where my competitive streak comes from, because seeing 50 grown people get into it is something that is,
that's amazing. And it's got to get worse every year because you guys are probably trying to top like the last year.
Oh my
God,
right? Yeah.
Cool.
Oh man, yeah.
You've done a lot of amazing things. What's your proudest accomplishment right now?
I think my proudest accomplishment is just to be where I am right now. I think that it's so cool that I can kind of look back over the last 5-6 years and see where I've come. Like I still tell a story about when I first met Mike Boyle. I was roommates with Kevin and Brendan, and they, for my birthday, they invited me to the winter seminar, which was like the best gift they could have ever done. And they were like, "Yeah, we're gonna go to Mike's for drinks afterwards." And I'm like, "Oh my God, Mike Boyle! Oh my God!" And so I go there and I introduce myself to Mike, and I'm like, "Hi, like I just want to introduce myself. I'm on a Tocco. I just want you to know, like you're part of my 5-year plan." And he kind of looks at me. He's like, "Why don't you come in on Monday?" And I was like, "Oh, yeah, okay, yeah, sure, yeah." And it's so cool that I come out of school. Essentially, I worked at FitCorp for 1 year as a personal trainer, but then went right into Mike's for 5 years, and then decided that I wanted to get my master's. Went to BU, got that amazing collegiate experience. Being a grad assistant there. And met some professors that totally changed my life and molded a new perspective. And then I got into inner city weightlifting, and I feel like I've been able to use all the tools in my toolbox while creating new tricks and finding new things to adapt what I've learned and then create new ways to teach and reinforce it. So
love it. Yeah,
I think that's like my biggest concept that I can. Yeah, it's
short
amazing.
Time. Very cool. What book influenced you the most in your life?
That would have to be All the Places You Go by Dr. Seuss.
All right.
The best line. It's to have brains in your head, you have feet in your shoes, you can steer yourself in any direction you choose. You're on your own, you know what you know, and you are the one who'll decide where you go.
Love it.
It gets me every time.
I feel like we should just end this show right there. Anyway, all right, really quick. You can pick one place to work out, any gym, wherever. You can have any trainer train you. Where is it and who is it?
Oh, man. That's tough because I love all my peoples. I have to say, I always look forward to going back to my alma mater at Boyle's on Saturdays, and I train with all the guys and some of my old clients and stuff. And I don't know, I am purely happy when I'm there working out with everyone.
Cool. Who's going to train you?
Nick Winkleman.
Very cool. All right.
He's the man. Yeah.
He is.
I'll have the best skipper in town after that.
Yeah. Anna, what is you working on anything right now that's getting you excited?
I am. I'm working on a couple of things. I think professionally, it's just more about, again, like figuring out my new tricks. And I've kind of changed my, as much as I read strength conditioning books, I'm also reading a lot more on mindfulness and, working, whether it's working with trauma or kind of working in that community sense of and creating a culture. So just kind of adapting my tools and, upgrading them and trading some in. But I think that personally, what I've been really working on and excited about is my mindfulness and creating a little bit more personal development time for myself, in the sense of, making time in my schedule to either go to yoga or do a boxing class or create some type of flow in my day so I can just kind of hone in on my own life and take a step back and breathe.
Very cool. It's hard to do in this business sometimes. So
yeah, it is. And I feel like I've never really done it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm really excited about kind of creating that, and it's going well so far. So.
All right. What's the advice you're going to give to yourself, the little Tocco that you want to, maybe that you might have changed? What do you got?
Well, I think for look to my younger self, number one would probably be like learn how to juggle, because I think that especially with my personality, as much as I try to kind of hone in on one job, I find myself loving, going through a bunch of different tasks and whatnot on the daily. At first I think it was a little bit overwhelming and I had, googly eyes, but I love having to kind of go from here to there to here to there and just keeping myself busy. Probably patience with my path. I think that when you're in the mix of it all and you're like, where am I going to go? Where am I going to go? And then, even before I got my master's, I was kind of trying out all these different things. I was like, do I want to go nutrition? And I would kind of react to things once they came up, like the option came to me, instead of trying to find my own path. And I feel like right now, it's going from Boyles to BU, now at ICW, I think I found like a little bit more stillness and happiness, just kind of being patient with that. And then one of the things for me, I feel like I have pretty good balance in my life, but I would, I'd say a little bit more conscious balance with my life, where, there are days where, it would be 90% work and maybe 10% family, or, 100% work and no family and no friends. But I was so fortunate to work at Boyles and work with my friends. So just kind of being conscious of the balance that I was creating. I don't think I had that, that I was actually having some sort of a balance.
Yeah.
And then my last one would probably be, don't take it personally. And I think that that's something that I've kind of figured out in the last couple of years.
That's hard to do.
Is that you have to set your boundaries for yourself. Yeah, in order to better yourself. And, when you start giving yourself to everyone all the time, there's nothing left for yourself. So just kind of don't take it personally and do your thing.
All right. Good advice for anyone. Well, I wasn't kidding when I said you seriously are one of my favorite people in the world, and you've done so many great things in such a short time, and you're heading in such a, the fitness industry is lucky to have you. So thanks so much for coming on today.
Conrad, you're the best. Thank you. I wouldn't be where I am without you. All those Strength Coach podcasts. Come on.
All right. Well, that's going to do it for episode 24 of the Stop and Give Me 20 podcast. Thanks again to Anna Tocco. Make sure to check out all the links to all her stuff at stop20podcast.com. Don't forget to subscribe to the show. Leave us a review and a rating. My name's Anthony Rena. Thanks so much for stopping by.